Hi Chem Peeps. In this video, we're going to determine the limiting reagent in this problem. The limiting reagent is one of two reactants that you have that will be completely used up in the reaction. The other reactant will be called our excess. So if you look at the problem, it says we have 100 grams of copper. So this is one of our A's with 100 grams. And it's added to a solution of 100 grams of silver nitrate. So we're given two given values of reactants. One of these reactants will be limiting, the other one will be excess. They ask us to solve for silver. That's our B. In other words, we want to know how many grams can truly be made from this. We're going to be using line 4 on our stoichiometry problems flowchart, because we're starting with mass and going to mass. And I'm going to have to do two line problems. I'm going to have to do one for A1, which is the copper, and A2, which is the silver nitrate. So setting up the line problem, we have 100 grams of copper. The next step is to multiply by 1 mole of copper over its molar mass off the periodic table. And if I look that up, it's 63.5 grams. The next step is to multiply by the mole ratio of the balanced equation. So that comes from the coefficient. So copper has 1 mole, and we're going to solve for the same B. In other words, I'm going from A1 to B in this first line, and there are 2 moles of silver, which is RB, because of the coefficient there. And then if I come out on line 4, I'm going to multiply by the molar mass of silver off the periodic table, which is 107.9 grams of silver over 1 mole. I know the problem is set up because everything from grams of copper, oops, I didn't label that one, grams of copper, moles of copper, silver, moles of silver, and moles of silver. Multiplying across the numerator and dividing by the denominator, it tells me I will get 339.8 grams of silver. Now I'm going to do the same thing, except this time I'm going to take A2 to B. So I have 100 grams of the silver nitrate, and I'm going to follow line 4 again, and it says 1 mole of the silver nitrate over its molar mass off the periodic table. So if I look up 1 silver, 1 nitrogen, and 3 oxygen, I get 169.9 grams of that silver nitrate. And then I multiply by the mole ratio, which is going to be the coefficients. Now this time, I have 2 moles of our A, 2 moles of silver nitrate, and I'm going to the same B, which is 2 moles of silver. And then I come out on line 4 and multiply by the molar mass of silver, which comes off the periodic table, over 1 mole. Again, I know this is set up properly because grams of silver nitrate cross out with grams of silver nitrate, moles and moles, moles and moles. And then our answer for the second line is 63.5 grams of silver. Now, doing this calculation, you can see I have 2 possible answers. This is the proper answer because it's the least amount. This is the answer to the problem as far as how many grams of silver can be produced. That makes the silver nitrate the limiting reagent. In other words, it's completely used up in this reaction. And that makes the copper the excess reagent, meaning that when the reaction is over, there will be leftover copper. And this answer means nothing. It's an overestimation of what can be produced. It cannot be produced because we will not have enough of the silver nitrate. I will then talk about how we can figure out the excess of copper that is left in video 2. So follow me there at Chem's Chem Chats on YouTube and TikTok.